So, I'm going to be talking about Trump buying up a number of different companies and spending taxpayers' money or borrowings to finance it. So, we first started with Intel, and that had a clause that they could buy another 5% if they wanted to. So, what other companies do we think is going to be in that sort of arena? So, I mean, Intel is your traditional sort of computing slash sort of minor semiconductor league. You know, I suppose America really needs that AI slash data center, which we don't really have. And the next thing to do is to look at defense, because effectively, why, when the majority of the defense contracts are from the government, why you don't actually invest 10 plus percent in those. Other ones probably also could be the systems which can be used to analyze vast amounts of data in regard to health, as well as identifying people with the probability of ill health in the future, as well as to monitor and analyze satellite maps. So there's probably another area. But also, because there have been a lot of issues with water in America, and I think water is going to be one of the major issues. It's probably down to water cleanliness and suitability to drink, water in the environment, which is relatively clean to enjoy. And I think the other thing would be that you want to have a situation where consumers' waste is potentially 100% recycled, even if you have to spend initially a lot of money, and then in time you get economies of scale. So you're recycling the cardboard, the plastics, the metals that are formed of tin cans, etc. I mean, there's a lot done with waste paper, but to actually do a complete head fake to say there's a lot of, from what I see on YouTube, there's a lot of Americans that actually waste a lot of food, as well as there's a lot of spoiled food, because you buy your 3 for 2, and you leave food on the plate. There needs to be a way for some company to regionally, probably at best, to get all of these effective calories, and then either using it to review and feed local animals, which may be an issue because you can't determine exactly if there are any foreign bodies or poison, as well as etc. So the best thing to do would be to have a relevant way of burning this calorific items after it's probably made into a sludge to remove all of the things that shouldn't be there, and to actually have a sort of food power station, because there's a lot of food that just gets left around, attracts maggots and rats and so forth. And that should be something that is is evident. I mean, at the moment, there are places around the world where effectively recycling is there for people who, you buy your product and you're paying an extra amount of money for somebody or some company to tidy it up, and a lot of money can be made by searching out these particular items and then returning to the company. Now, probably the same should be done so that a lot of the work has to be done across each and every state. Number one, to sort of maintain a lot of the properties front and back and motorways or freeways, which over time the roads are getting pretty messy. And I think this is a company, I won't name it because there are quite a number. Very simply, I think that Donald Trump will probably, by the end of his term, have probably at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen companies where it makes sense that the government either have a reasonable investment to sway or help sway the managers of those companies, or at some point there may be coming in some sort of golden ticket where they actually sway the way that these companies operate. Because at the moment it's just, I think in America, I don't know if it's changed, you got loads of barges going from Manhattan and then they just get dumped somewhere, dumped potentially in India, or they are, you know, dumped potentially in the ocean or just put into landfill. I mean, the thing is that you need to do the same with the rare earth minerals, because somebody with the clout and the money, the if you take a lot of the big ships to the areas where you've got, I believe, a 10 by 10 mile collection of plastic bottles in the ocean, and if there could be a mechanism, because I know that these plastics can be converted into oil. So if there is some sort of mechanism where you have the economies of scale, then, it's not just about the money at the end of the day, it's making sure that we don't suffocate the planet by more plastic bottles, and effectively have a World or United Nations agreement that every single plastic bottle has to have an amount of money, maybe 3, 5 cents, 10 cents, so that that particular bottle, if it isn't properly recycled, then the relevant, operations around the world can utilize this money to actually clean it up, because you know you've got a lot of resources which can be easily captured and reutilized, which aren't being used. So hopefully you can then see where I'm coming from, come up with your own ideas of what tickers you think that Donald Trump will buy and put under his wing, like Intel. And obviously, I'd like you to like and share this video, because I'm going to be doing a lot more of these videos to actually get my voice across. The investment show and the alts live show, I'm hoping to do individual companies reporting the state of the market. Later on, I'm going to be rolling out my leaderboard, so I'm going to have sort of a leaderboard every day and effectively highlighting those particular commodities, countries, currencies, which most people won't see on the radar, as well as giving you sort of the basic stand up, probably more information than most media outlets do, because they just do the simple stuff rather than really get into the meat about which sectors are really operating, some sort of ETFs which are really killing it, as well as the looking at other countries ETFs to have a look at the rotation. I mean, one of the main reasons for this is that I'm currently looking for work in the financial area, and it's very difficult at the moment because the roles aren't there. There's little in investment, and I think there is a barrier to entry if you're over a certain age. So, and then at the moment, I think a lot of recruitment is not what your background is and what you know, it's who you know. Maybe this has been carrying on for some time, but I've had a long career starting at the age of 16, and it's very difficult at the moment. So I thought I would speak to you and impart my knowledge and basically make you think, because I think that is the issue of. I mean, it's probably in certain circumstances to buy the dip, but you've got to see whether you are buying the right dip and looking forward, how much of a breadth and breadth we have in the market at the moment, because I think the trouble is that when the market is running sort of hot, it takes until it's on the boil for people then, either it's a black swan event or a white swan event or some comment, or some of the whales just betting the other way. I mean, it isn't being right with a particular company. They look good, they have a good balance sheet, they have a good future. It's all down to whether the whales like that company, and or it's their time, because a lot of, I mean, I get a feeling that the whales move from company to company. They have a situation where they sort of put a fire under the company, it explodes, they have the relevant options which will make them the particular money. And then when they get bored, or when there's ever the slightest issue, or it's the end of the month or end of the quarter or end of the year, they will just say, okay, we're about to dump, we'll reverse all our calls and open a lot of puts, and then they jettison, without people seeing that those particular stocks are being sold, because they don't use the markets that individual use. They use these other markets where it hides the trading for a number of hours rather than, sort of the 20-30 minute potentially. And it comes ramping down, other people pile in to sell, and their very cheap put option essentially makes them a lot of money until they have to sell because it's the end of the month, quarter, year, or their particular quant or Fibonacci chart hits something, or they see that there's another opportunity where they can do another pump and dump. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and share, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.